When streaks lie, it's not just beginners who get fooled. Pros get fooled too, because pros move fast. And when you move fast, you start trusting patterns that feel familiar. The river knows that. The river is basically a professional gaslighter. It shows you a perfect black sand streak just to waste your afternoon. So in this video, I'm going to explain the exact pattern that tricks experienced panners, why it happens in real ground, and what I personally do to avoid turning a signal into a bad commitment. And I'm not going to talk in theory. I'm going to talk in field logic, things you can actually observe: layer behavior, sorting behavior, repeatability, and direction. First, let's agree on what a streak is.
A streak is a line of heavies: magnetite, hematite, garnets, lead shot if you're lucky. A line that shows the river sorted dense material along a flow path. A real streak is a message. A false streak is a message from a different day, a different layer, or a different flow. And that's the key idea. Streaks don't lie. Layers lie. Or the layer is telling the truth about something you didn't ask. Here's the pattern that tricks pros. You find a clean, confident, heavy streak on the surface. You get excited because it looks like direction, and you assume the base will match it. But when you test the base either doesn't repeat the streak, or repeats it weakly, or points somewhere else entirely. That mismatch is the trap. Because your brain wants one story, not two stories. The brain hates uncertainty. The brain sees a streak and goes, "Great, I have a personality now. I am a streak-following person." And then you dig, and you dig, and you dig. And at the end of the day, you have a sore back, a bucket of nothing, and a new respect for misinformation. So why does this happen? Because the surface is a liar in three very specific ways. Lie number one: surface can be redeposited. A rise in water can lay down a fresh skin of heavies that looks beautifully sorted. But it's not connected to the deep trap where gold actually holds. Lie number two: surface can be transported sideways. In many bends and bars, the flow line that carries heavies is not the same line that exposes your digging area, so the streak you see is a conveyor belt, not a parking lot. Lie number three: surface can be decorative, like a nice rug in an empty house. You're admiring the pattern, but there's no furniture underneath. Now let me give you the simplest definition I use in the field. A streak only earns my trust if it passes two tests: repeatability and layer consistency. Repeatability means I can move a short distance along the same logic and the signal repeats. Layer consistency means I'm comparing the same layer, surface to surface, base to base, never mixed. Because the moment you mix layers, you mix timelines. And now you're basically reading yesterday's newspaper to trade stocks. So here's what I do when I see a streak that looks too perfect. Step one: I stop asking, "Did I find gold?" I ask, "What process made this?" And I run a quick classification in my head. Is this streak acting like a trail, or is it acting like a skin? A trail streak has structure. It has a center line. It has a fade on both sides. It has a consistent direction. And when you sample the base starts to agree. A skin streak looks dramatic, but it's shallow. It breaks apart when you sample the same idea a few meters away. Or it disappears when you go down.
Now, I know what some of you are thinking, but I found gold on surface streaks before. Yes, so have I. The mistake is not believing surface can hint.
The mistake is believing surface can decide. In my experience, surface is a teaser. Base layer is the contract. Surface is the dating profile. Base layer is the first time you meet in person. And if you've ever been catfished, you already understand this entire video. So to make this practical, I'm going to walk you through 3 real-world scenarios. Scenario 1. The mirror streak. This is the one that looks perfect and points you exactly away from the best trap. Here's what it looks like. On the surface, heavies form a clean line along the bar, and your pan concentrate is strong and satisfying. But when you test the base layer directly under that line, the heavies go flat. No peak, no increase, no pocket behavior. What's happening? The river is sorting on the surface flow line, but the real holding zone is deeper and slightly offset, often toward the inside bend low points, or toward a bedrock edge that the surface line is simply passing over. Pros get trapped here because the streak feels like a compass, but it's not a compass. It's a belt. My move in this scenario is not dig deeper. My move is shift laterally. I take 3 base consistent samples, 1 right on the streak line, 1 2 meters toward the inside, 1 2 meters toward the outside. Same layer, same depth, same processing. If the inside sample spikes, I know the streak is a mirror, showing flow, not storage. And now I have a direction that's real, because the base confirmed it. If all 3 are flat, then congratulations. You've discovered a beautiful place to take photos of black sand. And that's still useful information. It tells you, stop paying rent in a dead neighborhood. Scenario 2 will be the one that really hurts, because it's the 2-story streak. That's where surface tells one story, base tells a different story, and both stories sound believable. We'll do that next. Scenario 2, the 2-story streak. This is the one that wastes the most time, because it gives you just enough truth to stay stuck. Here's what it looks like. You pan the surface along a bar, and you get a clean, heavy streak. Then you dig down, and you still get heavies in the base layer. But the direction is different. The surface streak trends one way. The base layer heavies trend another way, or they peak somewhere else. So now you've got 2 experts arguing in your bucket, and both are convinced they're the real source. This happens because you're not seeing one deposit. You're seeing 2 different events stacked on top of each other. A newer layer laid down recently, and an older layer that took years to build. In plain terms, the surface is reporting the latest flow behavior. The base is reporting long-term storage. And gold, most of the time, doesn't care about what looked good last week. Gold cares about where dense material has been trapped repeatedly. So when I see a 2-story streak, I do one thing first. I decide which story I'm actually mining. Because if you try to follow both stories at once, you end up doing twice the work for half the clarity. Here's my framework, and this is personal. This is how I keep myself honest. I give the base layer priority by default. I will only let the surface lead if it passes a specific test. The repeat and deepen test. The repeat and deepen test is simple. At one station, I take a surface sample and a base sample. Then I move laterally a short distance and do it again. Then again. 3 stations. Surface and base at each station. Same processing method. This is the moment it stops being a feeling and becomes a map. Now, here's how I interpret the results. If the surface strengthens in one direction, but the base does not, the surface streak is a conveyor line.
I do not mine it. I use it to locate where that conveyor dumps into a real trap. If the base strengthens in one direction, while the surface is messy or random, the base is the truth. I follow the base trend, even if it's not pretty. If both surface and base strengthen in the same direction, that's a green light. Now you tighten spacing and you can justify staying. And this is where even experienced people get trapped. They hit one good pan and they stop moving. They turn a signal into a commitment. In my experience, that's backwards. A good pan is not a reason to stop testing. It's a reason to tighten your tests and force the ground to repeat itself. A single good pan is not a marriage proposal. It's a first date. You still need references. So here's the practical routine I run. Fast, clean, and hard to lie to. Step 1. Pick one reference line. Usually that's the surface streak line because it's visible. It becomes your baseline, not your decision. Step 2. Set 3 stations on that line. Station A, B, C, 5 to 10 meters apart. Don't overthink the distance. Consistency beats perfection. Step 3. At each station, take 2 samples. 1 surface sample, 1 base consistent sample, the lowest reachable layer, clay contact, or bedrock cracks. And here's the most important part. Label the samples. Because if you don't label them, your brain will label them emotionally. You'll look at the best pan, and your brain will rename it the chosen one. That is not geology. That is a romance novel. Step 4. Compare concentrates by behavior, not just color. How fast do heavies settle? Do they form a clean peak at one station? Does the base show a sharper center than the surface? When I see the base layer peak at one station, that station becomes my center. Then I tighten spacing, 2 meters left, 2 meters right. Same layer, same method. If I can't make the base peak sharpen when I tighten, I treat it as background. And background is not where I donate my time. Now here's the thumb tweak part. This is the mindset shift. A lot of people don't miss gold because they can't pan. They miss gold because they don't allow the ground to disagree with them. They decide first, then they search for proof. They treat a streak as a conclusion. I do it the other way round. I let the ground argue with me. And I only win when the argument becomes repetitive. And once you can separate the 2 stories, surface story and base story, you stop getting emotionally trapped by a pretty line of black sand. Because now you're not following a streak, you're testing a process. And that sets up scenario 3, the sneakiest one. The streak is real. The gold might even be real. But the streak is confirming the wrong thing. It confirms movement, not storage. Let's go to scenario 3 next. Scenario 3. the confirmation streak. This one is sneaky because it doesn't feel like a trap. It feels like success. You find a streak that runs clean and consistent. You pan it 3 times, and all 3 pans look good.
Maybe you even get color. Enough color to start planning what you'll tell your friends, and not enough color to actually pay for lunch. And that's exactly why it tricks pros. It confirms what you wanted to believe. I found the line. I just need to dig. But here's what's really happening a lot of the time. You're on a transport line. You're reading where heavies are moving, not where heavies are being stored. Think of it like this. A streak can be a road. A pay zone is a parking lot. Roads can be busy all day. That doesn't mean there's a bank on the roadside. So how do you tell a transport streak from a storage streak? You look for tightening. Storage creates a peak. Transport creates a ribbon. Here's what the confirmation streak looks like when you test it properly. You sample along the streak at multiple points. The signal repeats, but it stays broad. No station becomes clearly better. The base doesn't sharpen into a center. Everything stays pretty good. And pretty good everywhere is often the biggest red flag. Because if the river is truly storing material efficiently, you should be able to find a tighter, better spot as you narrow in. Here's my personal rule in this scenario. If the signal is strong but wide, I don't go deeper. I go smarter. I stop following the streak like it's a treasure map, and I start hunting the first real trap that can actually hold. In real ground, that trap is usually near a break. A break is where the river is forced to change behavior. I look for 3 kinds of breaks. Break type 1, a flow break. Something that makes water slow down suddenly. Behind a boulder cluster, inside the calm water behind a log, at the tail of a bar where the current drops. Break type 2, a texture break, where material changes, coarse gravel to fine sand, loose gravel to hard pack, gravel to clay contact. Break type 3, a geometry break, bedrock shelves, cracks, low points, the edge of a false floor, the first hard boundary that stops rolling heavies. Here's the move that saves time. When I see a broad confirmation streak, I don't ask, where is the line? I ask, where does this line dump? And I test that with a simple triangle. Point 1. A base consistent sample on the streak. Point 2. A base consistent sample at the nearest break. Point 3. A base consistent sample just past the break. Same layer, same method, no mixing. If the break sample spikes higher than the streak sample, I just proved something important. The streak is feeding the trap. The trap is the target. And if none of them spike, then what you found is a very motivational streak. It motivates you to waste more time. Now let's talk about the second way this confirmation streak tricks pros. This is the tam tui part. Pros trust repetition. Repetition feels like certainty. But in prospecting, repetition can also be background. Background heavies can repeat for a long stretch without ever becoming a pay zone. So my question is never, did it repeat? My question is, did it intensify when I tightened? Here's my tightening routine. I find the best looking point along the streak. Then I test 2 meters left and 2 meters right. Same layer. If one side gets better,
and the other gets worse, I've found structure. That's a center. That's worth staying. If both sides look the same, I'm on a ribbon. And ribbons are for tracking, not mining. Now, I want to say something that will save you months if you accept it. A streak is not proof of gold. A streak is proof of sorting. Gold is not guaranteed in every sorting system. Sometimes you're in a beautifully sorted system that simply doesn't have gold supply.
It's like having a perfect mailbox in a neighborhood where nobody sends you letters. So what do you do with a confirmation streak? You use it as a tracking tool. You follow it to breaks. You follow it to boundaries. You follow it until it tightens or it dies. And the moment it tightens, that's when you stop wondering and start mining. Now we've covered the three scenarios: the mirror streak, the two-story streak, and the confirmation streak. Next, I'm going to give you the field checklist I actually use, the one that keeps me from being emotionally manipulated by black sand. Because yes, black sand will compliment you. And yes, it will break your heart. Let's build the checklist. All right, here's the checklist. This is what I actually run in the field when I don't want to get fooled by a pretty streak. Rule 0. Before anything else, I write down what layer I sampled: surface, mid, base, clay contact, or bedrock cracks. Because if you don't label the layer, your brain will label it the truth. And that's how you end up arguing with a river like it's a person. Now the checklist has 5 questions, and if you answer them honestly, streaks stop lying. Question 1. What process made this streak? Is it a storage signal or a transport signal? Storage signal usually has a center. It peaks somewhere and it fades outward. Transport signal is a ribbon. Good everywhere, sharp nowhere. Question 2. Does it repeat in the same layer? Same layer, same method, same depth. If you can't reach the base, fine. But don't pretend surface is telling you a base story. Question 3. Does it sharpen when I tighten spacing? 2 meters left, 2 meters right. Same layer. If one side improves and the other worsens, that's structure. That's a center. If everything stays the same, you're in background or transport. Question 4. Can I name the trap? Flow break, texture break, or geometry break? If you can't name the trap, you're probably mining a conveyor belt. And mining a conveyor belt is like trying to catch fish by punching the water. Question 5. If I'm wrong, what would the ground look like? This is the ego killer, because it forces you to test for disproof, not comfort. If I'm wrong, the base won't repeat. If I'm wrong, tightening won't create a peak. If I'm wrong, the best pan won't reproduce. Now let me turn that checklist into a field routine you can run fast. Step 1. Pick a short stretch you can control. 1 bar edge, 1 bend, 1 bank exposure, 1 bedrock run. Don't bounce around. If you jump from place to place, the only pattern you build is confusion. Step 2. Set 3 stations. A, B, C. Practical spacing. Consistency matters more than the exact distance. Step 3. Sample the same layer at all 3 stations. If you can do base, do base. If you can't, admit your sampling surface and treat it as a hint.
Step 4. Compare concentrates for a trend. Not just how black, but how it peaks. If one station spikes and the others fade, you found a center.
If the middle is best and both sides are weak, that's a pocket.
If everything is uniform, that's background. Step 5. Once you have a trend, you tighten. 2 meters, same layer. 2 meters again, same layer. At that point, the decision becomes simple. Stay when the base signal repeats and strengthens into a tighter zone. Move when repeated base tests show no trend and no trap behavior. Mark when the trend looks real, but conditions limit access. Then return when you can test properly. Now I want to address something that's going to sound uncomfortable. Most wasted days are not caused by bad luck. They're caused by premature certainty. The river doesn't defeat you with difficulty. It defeats you with confidence. That's why streaks trick pros.
Pros are skilled enough to get a good-looking pan almost anywhere. And that skill can accidentally hide the truth, whether the ground is actually concentrating or just decorating. So here's the line I want you to remember, the one that changes how you prospect. A streak is not a destination. A streak is a question. And the only way you get paid is by forcing that question to answer itself in the same layer with repeatable tests until a peak forms. If you want one takeaway that makes this video worth your time, it's this. Never fall in love with a pretty pan. Fall in love with a trend you can reproduce. Because a reproducible trend will lead you to gold. And even when it doesn't, it will still lead you to the truth, faster than hope ever will.
If you want, drop a comment with your streak situation. Surface streak, base result, and whether it tightens. I'll tell you what I'd do next. Stay, move, or mark.